Hello everyone, my name is Chubasa, and this is my beginner's guide to Dragon Ball The Breakers. Now this game can be rough to new players, as it pretty much just throws you into the thick of it. And while there is a tutorial that teaches you the basics, like how to move and set keys, I feel it fails on teaching you how to survive against the Raider. It's not uncommon for me to play games and see new players die in their very first interaction with the Raider. So by making this guide, I'm hoping to teach people how to better survive, so that everyone can have a more enjoyable time. And to help with that, I've made a fresh account to show you some things you should do at the very beginning, and that no matter what level you are, you can always be a capable survivor. So before you even jump into your first game, there's some prep work you'll want to do first, starting out with talking to the male robot. Since we're new players, he's going to give us a bunch of materials we can use to buy items at the shop and do pulls at the Spirit Siphon. He'll also give out more stuff as events occur, so be sure to frequent him whenever you see the notification over his head. Once you've collected everything, head on over to the shop. At the shop, ignore all the cosmetic stuff for now and head on down to etc. Then go ahead and buy the skills Power Charger and Hovering Device. These are two very good skills you can get early on in the game, and we'll talk more about them when we get to the making a build section. Next, let's head to the Spirit Siphon machine. So the Spirit Siphon machine is essentially a giant gacha machine. This is where you go to do all your pulls and get all the new skills and abilities in the game. Not really the biggest fan that it's all RNG, but what are you gonna do? So when you're just starting out, you'll notice that it's going to offer you one of 3 skills for free. Before you choose one, you're going to want to do your random pulls first. This is because there's actually a small chance you might actually end up getting one of these 3 skills. This way it'll narrow down your options if that happens. So head on over to the other banners and spend all of your materials and do those random pulls. Now if you're looking for a recommendation on which of the 3 skills to get, I think Kaioken Rush and Saiyan Pod Remote offer the best utility this early on. Kaioken Rush is a hybrid skill that lets you do a short flying dash that can be used for navigation, escaping the Raider, or punching the Raider in the face. And the Saiyan Pod Remote lets you call down a pod that you can take anywhere on the map, and you can even crash it down on the Raider to hinder them for a bit. So just pick whichever one sounds most appealing to you. It's not a big deal, they're both very good skills. Next, we're going to head over to battle settings and start making a build. Now when you're just starting out, you're going to notice that your build will look something like this. As you can see, it's rather limited, and if we jumped into a game with such few skills, we'd have a pretty bad time. So we're going to use all the new skills we got to make a more proper build, starting by heading on down here to this passive skill, Emergency Transformation Device. Now, what this skill does is that when you're hit and your barrier is broken, it forces you into Dragon Change. Now this is what I like to call a beginner's trap skill, because it doesn't actually do anything. You can go into Dragon Change yourself when your barrier is broken because you're invulnerable for a short period of time, and it's a single button input. So I highly recommend you change this to Power Charger. What Power Charger does is that it slowly charges your Dragon Change from level 0 to 1. This can be very handy for new players that are having a hard time finding change power early on in the match, and a much better beginner-friendly skill compared to Emergency Transformation Device. Now before I start filling in any other slots, I think it's important that I quickly talk about character restrictions, and I better showcase an example of this. So I'm going to equip Kaioken Rush, and then I'm going to try and change Goku to someone else. Now, as you can see, it says that I'm going to lose the skill Kaioken Rush. Now, this is because this early on in the game, characters are tied to the skills you get them with. So if I want to use Kaioken Rush, Goku has to be in one of my Dragon Change slots. This is also the case for the Survivor skins. If you see, if I make myself Bulma, and I go back down to skills, you're going to see that I actually have access to even more skills now, like the capsule bike. Now, I know this can sound annoying at first. Perhaps you want to use your OC because you worked very hard on them, and then seeing a message like this can be very annoying. However, there is a way around this, and I will showcase that right over here. This is the training area. If you head on down to skills, you can see that you can level up your skills here. Now, if you manage to level up any skill to level 10, you will lose the restriction on that skill, and you can use that skill whenever you want. So if you really like a skill, I highly recommend you level it up to 10. Now, because we have to play within the character restrictions for now, we're going to have to mix and match things to make the best build we can. But what is essential when it comes to making a build? Well, I think the most important thing is a way to escape the raider, and I like to call these escape skills. So let's look at this skill right here, the grappling device. Now this is a skill you start out with, and you can see it's very straightforward. You point it at a destination, and you grapple to it very quickly. This partners great with Dragon Change because you can fly around, and it gives you more options to grapple to. This is one of the best tools to escape the raider. Another great escape skill to use is the Capsule Single Wheel Motorbike, which I'll be calling the Bulma Bike from now on because it's a mouthful to say it the other way. What makes the Bulma Bike so great is that it has a boost you can use when you get on it that makes you go very, very fast, and you can actually ride this indefinitely until you manage to get a safe distance away. Now remember, escape skills should typically only be used to escape from the raider. As you can see, the skill has a long cooldown, so if you are going to use them for anything other than escaping, be sure that it's worth the risk. Okay, now that I have both of my escape skills, I have 2 more slots down here, and you can really just put whatever you want in there. As long as you have ways to get away from the raider, you can be diverse with these other 2. So I'm going to put on Kaioken Rush, and I think I will go with Charming Pose for the other. Last thing we have to do is finish off the passive skills down here. We already have Power Charger, so let's throw in the Hovering Device. Now the Hovering Device is a good passive to have because you're going to find yourself in free fall a lot in this game, and the Hovering Device can give you more options instead of just falling straight down. You can also use it to avoid getting out of landing animation when you fall from too high up. Before continuing, the passive skills we both have might be different, since the skills you get from the Spirit Siphon are random. Don't worry so much about this, and just use what skills you have available. You can do more pulls in the future as you play more games. But going forward, these are my recommendations, if you have them. Barrier Auto Recovery. Now this skill gives you back your barrier after a minute or so. That may seem like a long time, but trust me when I say this is one of the best passive skills in the game. Going hunting for a barrier recovery device can be time consuming, and you might not be able to find one. This skill will allow you to continue playing objectives while your barrier just comes back on its own. So if you have it, I highly recommend you equip it. The final passive I'll recommend is Expert Driver Speed Boost. Now this is going to make Bulma's bike go even faster, making it an even better escape skill. It'll also make every other vehicle go faster as well, which can be very handy for getting around without having to use skills to do so. And with that, it looks like our build is complete. So let's head into a game and I can showcase all these skills in action. Okay, so I lied to you. There's 2 things I want to talk about before we go into the first game. Let's start with barriers. So barriers are an invisible force field that are around you all the time. When you get hit, they'll shatter. There'll be a little red field around you for a brief moment that you can use to act and use escape skills to get away or Dragon Change. But after that brief moment, you'll see that a red ring forms. When this red ring is around you, you are incredibly vulnerable to dying. Any attack from the raider will knock you down and he'll be able to eat you. So, If you have the red ring, do not take risks and try to get your barrier back as fast as you can. If you don't have the passive, you might want to consider carrying a barrier recovery device on you. These are abundant, you'll find them in chest, and you just activate it to get your barrier back. And the other thing I want to tell you is to be quiet when the raider is nearby. Now, you may not think you're making noise, but trust me, you're making noise, and the raider can hear it. To showcase this, I'm going to stand on this hill on E, while my friend just runs around in the cave below me. As you can see, I'm picking up all of that noise, so I know there's someone around, and if I was playing Cell properly, I'd sense and then locate them and take them out. However, if my friend decides to crouch walk instead, you can tell that I can't pick up much noise at all. So if I didn't hear anything, I probably wouldn't sense his cell. So, just try to be quiet when you can. Also, this goes for swimming too. Do not swim when the raider is around and you're trying to hide from them. Now you can tell the raiders nearby if you hear the combo of a heartbeat and something flying. That is most likely the raider. So if you hear those noises, be quiet. I lied again. There's a third thing I want to talk about, and that's combat in Dragon Change. Now there's 3 different levels of Dragon Change, and you turn into the character that's placed in that slot. When you're close to the raider, you do a lunging melee attack, and when you're far away, you'll do a ki blast. You can also do a super attack, but this costs a lot of energy, so make sure it's worth it when you do it. If you melee a raider who is a higher level than you, they have immunity and will simply brush off your attack. If you and a raider melee clash each other and your level is lower, they win the clash. If your level is equal, then you tie. And if your level is higher, then you win the clash. Now even when your level is higher, you don't get melee immunity like the raider does, so be careful. Melee attacks drain your energy by a lot. While fighting a raider at a lower level can be risky, there's actually still times you'll want to do it. For example, you can interrupt the raider while they're destroying the startup machine, or trying to eat someone. And as long as you fight defensively, you should be able to stall the raider for a decent amount of time. Just be sure you have your escape skills so it isn't a one-way trip. Alright, so here we are in our first game. And as you can see, my build is a little bit different from what you last saw. I recorded this before I did the make a build segment, and I guess I got the characters are a little off, but that's the only thing different about the build. All my active skills and passive skills are still the same. Okay, so another thing is that this commentary is not going to be nearly as scripted as my previous segments. So if I flub any lines, feel free to make fun of me in the comments below.
I can't wait to see the look on people's faces.
Yeah, but as an example game, this game honestly went about as well as I could have asked. There's like some things I wish I did differently, but whatever. That's like every game.
We'll see about that.
Alright, and here we go. Now, when you're just starting out, you're going to notice that it's going to put you at one of the 5 lettered locations. So, I'm starting here in location A. Now, location A is famous for having that little body of water in the back full of the chest. I recommend you ignore that, and you instead prioritize getting Dragon Change level 1. Now, the best way to do this is to break open these random objects and hope that they drop cubes. And you should also be looking for civilians. I don't think I find any civilians early on, but this is another way you can find power cubes. I'm just going to call them cubes from now on. Alright, so because we're running Power Charger, we don't need to get that many cubes. We only need like 2 or 3, and then we can let it fill up naturally over time. So I'm going to do a final check here. There's one more cube. I'm going to grab it. And at this point, I'm just going to let it fill up itself. Hey, what's in there? That's a very good find. Alright, now, it's very important that you let Power Charger fill it up naturally. Because if you grab a cube when it's on the verge of transitioning from 0 to 1, you're going to throw off the count. And then you're just going to have to get that extra cube anyways. So, just be careful of that. Right, so these guys were setting the keys, so I decided to help them. You know how to do this from the tutorial, but you don't know how to do this, alright? So when your teammates ever do anything good, send them the Goku thumbs up. It's very important. If you don't send that thumbs up, they don't get as many positive vibes, and the more positive vibes you send to your teammates, the better they will do. It is a proven fact, alright? Everyone does better when they're having a good time. Alright, so I went up to here at E to set the other key. And here we go. Perfect example of how to treat the Dragon Balls. Alright, so if you find a Dragon Ball, you can place it down for your teammates. If you notice that someone else on the team has a bunch of Dragon Balls and you have one, just give them the Dragon Ball. There's no need to be like selfish about who makes the wish or anything like that. Just getting the wish and getting the Dragon Balls together is more important than any of that. Okay, now you can see Cell sensed me here, so I need to get out of here because I'm only level 1 and he's level 2. He's gonna beat my butt. So I'm gonna use Charming Pose to stun him. Luckily, he didn't seem to know he could use After Image after that. So I was able to grapple away, turn off my transformation, and then get on the Bulma bike and get on out of there. And that is essentially the bread and butter of getting away from the Raider. It doesn't get any more basic than that. So I'm going to do some donuts, make sure he's not chasing me, and I feel safe, so I get off the bike. Alright. Now at this point I'm just going to continue to do what I was doing previously, power myself up, check chest for random things. I found a cooldown drink. That's a really good item, because, you know, it reduces your cooldown to get your Dragon Change back faster. And you might have also noticed that my shield is back too. That is the power of barrier auto recovery. You see, I was just doing random Hi, Farmer. I was just doing random things, and my barrier came back. So it is one of the best passives in the game. I recommend you use it if you happen to get it. Alright, so just continuing to look for things, and I find a Power Key Radar. Now that is one of the best finds in the game if you're a survivor, because now we can just easily track down these final power keys. Alright, so there's a power key right there. I'm going to get it from my team. And normally what I'd do is I would head to Area A and just find the last power key so my teammates could just, you know, set this one while I look for the other one. But I guess I had a different mindset, and I just decided to set this key. So, yeah. Doesn't really matter. I'm still participating. I'm still being a good teammate. And here comes Kuren to help. You know, when you play on Switch, you see a lot of familiar names, and Kuren is a regular. There's Rich. Hello, Rich. I don't recognize Rich as well, but I know Rich likes setting keys because he's been helping set the last 3 keys. So thank you, Rich, for being a good teammate. All right, so I don't know. Apparently, I used my Bulma bike to get this bike. I don't know if that was worth it. I'm critiquing my own playstyle. But apparently I felt like it was worth it, even though I know I get off this bike in like just a few seconds, so whatever, Pass Tommy, you're dumb. Okay, so I see the final keys up there, and I'm going to use Kaioken to get right on up there and get the final key for my teammates. Then a Saiyan Pod, that's rare. That's a pretty low % chance of you being able to get that. So now I can actually show off what Saiyan Pod does here. So you can just drop it down anywhere, and I'm going to go to D with it because I believe I want to supply myself because Cell is activating the final battle. So he destroyed A, which means that all the other keys were active, so that just initiates the startup machine to come down. So Cell is probably going to blitz the machine. Yeah, he's doing it right now. He's destroying it. So I'm going to work my way over there and contest him. Here I go. There I go. And he hurt it a lot. Yeah, it's already on its final phase. Okay. So a neat little trick you can do is when you power up into Dragon Change, that starting animation where you like charge up and like become super powered, that can actually push back the Raider and it can knock the Dragon Balls out of him. So that's what I did. I don't even think he noticed he lost them. So I took them and I flew away, and now I'm just pinging them for my teammates. Alright, and if I let this... Okay, I cancel it like... I saved 1% by canceling it that late. Probably should have canceled it sooner, but whatever. Just critiquing my playstyle again. It's fine. Alright, so... This is bad because this was the person that had the Dragon Balls, so... I decided to do a pretty risky move there, and I Kaioken rush him. And then I missed the charming pose, but luckily it looks like he was distracted by something else. So I was able to get away. Alright. Now I'm kind of just wondering what to do. Once again, ditch the Bulma bike to get this regular bike. And, oh yeah, this is important. Alright, so when the startup machine is called down, if you survive long enough, eventually Trunks will send supplies. I believe he sends it faster if the Raider is a higher level. Like, when they're level 4, he sends that supplies immediately. Level 3, I think he sends it pretty quickly, but you still gotta wait a while. Alright. So, in the supplies, it's just like a bunch of cubes you can use for your power change, some cooldown drinks, and some barriers. So be sure to open those capsules and get that stuff. And this is also very important. Alright? So, when the Raider is not around the startup machine, you want to make sure that you and your teammates are working on it, because it's going to make it fill up a lot faster. So, as you can see, 75% is a lot faster than the 15%. Yeah. So be sure to do that. And it looks like Cell called on, and he's going to try and fight us now. Now Rick is distracting him, and I tried to land a charming pose. It looks like I missed. And as you can see, I'm not going to activate Dragon Change until my barrier breaks. Alright? Because I know I can make the risk, and it just, you know, I'm just stalling for as much time as possible to get as much percentage as we can. Now, that volley is very annoying. You can't really dodge it when it's that close range. You can kind of use the grappling device, but I don't know. It doesn't work as well as it used to, I think. Alright. So this is kind of I decided to just sacrifice myself because earlier I noticed that Kuririn got the Dragon Balls. So he actually managed to get the wish. So I just did a special attack to delay Cell as long as possible. And then I think Cell got a little greedy here. I think he should have prioritized the machine, but he decides to eat me instead, so he could also get level 4. Now at this point, it's kind of over for the Raider. There's not really much they can do. They already have to go through this transformation animation. And then Kuririn is like flying above them with level 4 shooting special beam cannons. So he's not really going to be able to destroy it. This is pretty much our victory. Yeah. And we did it! Alright. So I made a sacrificial play. Kuririn's doing the spinny dance of victory. And we ended up winning it. Yippee! And that is pretty much how you want to play the game. You know, you want to get away from the Raider. You want to play those objectives. Get Dragon Change 1 as fast as you can at the start of the map. I'm sure there's other things. Oh, yeah, share the Dragon Balls. yeah, you do all that, you be a good teammate, you know, and you're gonna have a fun time. Now, I really love this game. I've put so many hours into it, so if I better helps you understand how to play it at all, then, you know, that's all I could ever ask for. I hope you all have a good one, and Happy New Year! Because that's when I finished making this video, right at the end of New Year. Alright, goodbye!